Okay, during this video we're going to read through Grendel's mother and the battle with Grendel's mother, and you will answer the reading guide questions as we go. So I'll read, discuss, and then you need to answer the questions using complete sentences. You can stop and start this video as you move through the text with me. So we've killed Grendel, and we've had a celebration. His claw is hanging from the ceiling as a trophy. And then everybody goes to sleep that night, and Grendel's mother comes to take vengeance for the death of her son. Although one monster has died, another still lives. From her lair in a cold and murky lake where she has been brooding over her loss, Grendel's mother emerges, bent on revenge. So she reached Heorot, where the Danes slept as though already dead. Her visit ended their good fortune, reversed the bright vein of their luck. No normal female, no matter how fierce, could have come with a man's strength, fought with the power and courage men fight with, smashing their shining swords, their bloody hammered forged blades onto the boar-headed helmets, slashing and stabbing with the sharpest of points. The soldiers raised their shield and drew those glimmering swords, swung them above the piled-up benches, leaving their mail shirts and their helmets where they had lain when the terror took hold of them. She moved still faster, took a single victim, and fled from the hall, running to the moors, discovered but her supper assured, sheltered in her dripping claws. She had taken Hrothgar's closest friend, the man most loved of all men on earth. She killed a glorious soldier, cut a noble life short. No Geaot could have stopped her. Beowulf and his band had been visiting beds elsewhere. Sleep had come to them in a different hall. When all Heorot burst into shouts, she had carried off Grendel's claw. So she attacks and takes vengeance for the death of her son. She takes a weregild that we talked about early on, a blood price. She takes the life of Hrothgar's closest friend for the death of her son. She doesn't kill anybody else. And then she, of course, takes her son's arm, his claw, as you would expect any mother to do. She has never attacked before. She's had no reason to till the death of her son. So answer those questions using complete sentences and then restart the video. Let's read on. Sorrow had returned to Denmark. They traded deaths, Danes and monsters, and no one had won. Both had lost. Now we have a little passage. We've cut out some of the passage here, so I have a summary here. Devastated by the loss of his friend, Hrothgar sends for Beowulf and recounts what Grendel's mother had done. Then Hrothgar describes the dark lake where Grendel's mother has dwelt with her son. Hrothgar speaks. They live in secret places, windy cliffs, wolf dens where water pours from the rocks, then runs underground, where mist steams like black clouds, and the groves of trees growing out over their lake are all covered with frozen spray, and wind down snake-like roots that reach as far as the water and help keep it dark. At night, that lake burns like a torch, glowing in the dark. No one knows its bottom. No wisdom reaches such depths. A deer hunted through the woods by packs of hounds, a stag with great horns, though driven through the forest from faraway places, prefers to die on those shores, refuses to save its life in that water. It isn't far, nor is it a pleasant spot. When the wind stirs and storms, waves splash towards the sky, as dark as the air, as black as the rain that the heavens weep. Our only help again lies with you, Beowulf. Grendel's mother is hidden in her terrible home in a place you've not seen. Seek it if you dare. Save us once more, and again twisted gold, heaped up ancient treasure will reward you for the battle you win. So he's describing this lake, at the bottom of which is the lair of Grendel and Grendel's mother. And it's a lake in the swamps. Moving on. Beowulf, son of Ecgtheow, responded, "Wise sir, do not grieve. It is always better to avenge the dear one than to indulge in mourning. For every one of us living in this world means waiting for our end. Let whoever can win life before death." All right, life. What is life? Look back at our introductory notes that were posted on the 23rd for life. Those are also notes you need to study for the upcoming test. Beowulf and the Geats and the Danes travel to the lake of which Grendel and his mother live at the bottom. Beowulf prepares to dive down to battle Grendel's mother. The lake. The forest paths were marked all over with the monster's tracks, her trail on the ground wherever she had gone across the dark swamps, dragging away the body of that Thane, Hrothgar's best counselor and overseer of the country. It was a sore blow to all the Danes, friends of the Shieldings, a hurt to each and every one of that noble company when they came upon Aschir's head at the foot of the lake's cliff. Aschir is the man that she killed and took. How do the Danes and the Geats find the lake in which Grendel and his mother live? Look back over that passage if you need to. The water was infested with all kinds of reptiles. There were writhing sea dragons and monsters slouching on slopes by the cliff. Serpents and wild things such as those that often surface at dawn to roam the sail road and doom men's voyages. Beowulf got ready, donned his war gear, indifferent to death. His mighty hand-forged, fine-webbed mail would soon meet with the menace underwater. Skipping a little farther. One item lent by Unferth as a sign of friendship at that moment of need was of no small importance. Unferth handed Beowulf a sword, a rare and ancient blade named Hrunting. The iron blade with its decorative patterns had been tempered in human blood. It had never failed the hand of anyone who had hefted it in battle, anyone who had fought and faced the worst in the gap of danger. This was not the first time it had been called to perform heroic feats. Beowulf spoke, uttering his flight. "Wisest of kings, now I have come to the point of action. If I should fail and suffer death while serving your cause, act like a father to me afterwards. If this combat kills me, take of my young company, my comrades in arms, and be sure also, my beloved Hrothgar, to send Higelac the treasures I received. And Unferth is to have what I inherited. To that far-famed man I bequeath my own sharp-honed wonder blade, Naegling. With Unferth's sword Hrunting I shall gain glory or die." The relationship between Unferth and Beowulf has changed. Unferth challenged him previously, and after Beowulf kills Grendel, Unferth and Beowulf, in a passage we didn't read, kind of make amends and show a sign of respect. The exchange of blades is very significant. These are family swords, and it is a sign of brotherhood to exchange those blades. So that's how their relationship has changed. This is extra boxes here you don't need to worry about, just answer number 6. So now we move on to the battle with Grendel's mother. Beowulf leaped into the lake, would not wait for anyone's answer. The heaving water covered him over. For hours he sank through the waves. At last he saw the mud of the bottom, and all at once the greedy she-wolf, who ruled those waters for 100 years, discovered him, saw that a creature from above had come to explore the bottom of her wet world. She welcomed him in her claws, clutched at him savagely, but could not harm him, tried to work her fingers through the tight ring-woven mail on his breast, but tore and scratched in vain. And then she carried him, armor and sword and all, to her home. He struggled to free his weapon, and failed. The fight brought other monsters swimming to see her catch, a host of sea beasts who beat at his mail shirt, stabbing with tusks and teeth as they followed along. Then he realized suddenly that she had brought him into someone's battle hall, and there the water's heat could not hurt him, nor anything in the lake attack him through the building's high arching roof. A brilliant light burned all around him, the lake itself like a fiery flame. And then he saw the mighty water witch, swung his sword, his ring-marked blade, straight at her head. The iron sang its fierce song, sang Beowulf's strength. But her guests discovered that no sword could slice her evil skin, that Hrunting could not hurt her, was useless now when he needed it. They wrestled. She ripped and tore and clawed at him, bit holes in his helmet, and that too failed him. For the first time in years of being worn to war, the helmet would earn no glory, no lof. It was the last time anyone would wear it, but Beowulf longed only for fame. Leaped back into the battle. He tossed his sword aside, angry. The steel-edged blade lay where he dropped it. If weapons were useless, he'd use his hands, the strength in his fingers. And so fame comes to the men who mean to win it and care about nothing else. So the sword, of course, he takes with him is Unferth's sword, named Hrunting. And it fails because Grendel's mother is a witch. She's referred to as a water witch. She is a witch, and she has cast a spell that no man-made weapons can harm her. That's an important point. No man-made weapons can harm her. This is true of Grendel as well. No man-made weapons can harm him. It's the same spell. Of course, Grendel is called a number of things, Grendel's mother, besides Grendel's mother. And those are hyphenated kennings that you can see back in the passage. So be sure to use complete sentences there. Reading on. Beowulf raised his arms and seized her by the shoulder. Anger doubled his strength. He threw her to the floor. She fell, Grendel's fierce mother, and the Geat's proud prince was ready to leap on her. But she rose at once and repaid him with her clutching claws, wildly tearing at him. He was weary, that best and strongest of soldiers. His feet stumbled, and in an instant she had him down, held helpless. Squatting with her weight on his stomach, she drew a dagger, brown with dried blood, and prepared to avenge her only son. But he was stretched out on his back, and her stabbing blade was blunted by the woven mail shirt he wore on his chest. The hammered links held. The point could not touch him. He'd have traveled to the bottom of the earth, Ecgtheow's son, and died there if that shining woven metal had not helped. And holy God, who sent him victory, gave judgment for truth and right, ruler of the heavens, once Beowulf was back on his feet and fighting. Then he saw, hanging on the wall, a heavy sword hammered by giants, who were also descendants of Cain and therefore cursed and evil. Strong and blessed with their evil magic, the best of all weapons, but so massive that no ordinary man could lift its carved and decorated length. He drew it from its scabbard, broke the chain on its hilt, and then, savage now, angry and desperate, he lifted it high over his head and struck with all the strength he had left. He caught her in the neck and cut it through, broke bones and all. Her body fell to the floor, lifeless. The sword was wet with her blood, and Beowulf rejoiced at the sight. So, the man-made weapons cannot pierce her hide due to the spell she has cast. But giants are not humans; they are also descendants of Cain, and so it will work. In a sense, what you have here is evil defeating itself. Evil is its own flaw. It is its own defeat. Now, Beowulf, of course, lops off her head, and that is the end of the battle. But Beowulf's not done. He is angry. He didn't start this fight, and Grendel's mother did not start this fight. Grendel started this fight. So now he's going to go out and deal some more vengeance on Grendel. The brilliant light shone suddenly, as though burning in that hall, and as bright as heaven's own candle lit in the sky. He's cast out evil. He looked around at her home, and then followed along the wall, went walking, his hands tight on the sword, his heart still angry. He was hunting another dead monster, and took this weapon with him for final revenge against Grendel's vicious attacks, his nighttime raids over and over, coming to Heorot when Hrothgar's men slept, killing them in their beds, eating some on the spot, 15 or more, and running to his loathsome moor with another such sickening meal waiting in his pouch. But Beowulf repaid him for those visits, found him lying dead in his corner, armless, exactly as that fierce fighter had sent him out from Heorot. Then Beowulf struck off his head with a single swift blow. The body jerked for the last time, and then lay still. Now we move. This is sort of a cut scene here. Beowulf's at the bottom of the lake with lopping off Grendel's head. Now we're at the top of the lake. They've been waiting most of the day, the Danes and the Geats that accompanied him, and they're getting worried. So we're up at the top of the lake with the Danes and the Geats waiting. The wise old warriors who surrounded Hrothgar, like him staring into the monster's lake, saw the waves surging and blood spurting through. They spoke about Beowulf, all the graybeards, whispered together, and said hope was gone, that the hero had lost fame in his life all at once, and would never return to the living, come back as triumphant as he had left. Almost all agreed that Grendel's mighty mother, the she-wolf, had killed him. The sun slid down over past noon, went further down. The Danes gave up, left the lake and went home, Hrothgar with them. But the Geats stayed, sat sadly watching, imagining they saw their lord, but not believing they would ever see him again. So that right there covers question 11. And I want you to infer what this means, what the warriors who stay, what this shows or illustrates about them. Then the sword, the giant sword, melted, blood-soaked, dripping down like water, disappearing like ice when the world's eternal Lord loosens invisible fetters and unwinds icicles and frost as only he can. He who rules time and the seasons, he who is truly God. The monster's hall was full of rich treasures, but all that Beowulf took was Grendel's head and the hilt of the giant's jeweled sword. The rest of that ring-marked blade had dissolved in Grendel's steaming blood, boiling even after his death. So Beowulf takes Grendel's head as trophy, but is also, Grendel is the reason all of this started. He caused it. He's not mad at Grendel's mother. She did what a mother would do. He's mad at Grendel for starting this. Then the battle's only survivor swam up and away from those silent corpses. The water was calm and clean, the whole lake peaceful once the demons who lived in it were dead. Then that noble protector of all seamen swam to land, rejoicing in the heavy burdens he was bringing with him. He and all his glorious band of Geats thanked God that their leader had come back unharmed. They left the lake together. The Geats carried Beowulf's helmet and his mail shirt. Behind them, the water slowly thickened as the monster's blood came seeping up. They walked quickly, happily, across roads all of them remembered. They left the lake and the cliffs alongside it. Brave men staggering under the weight of Grendel's skull, too heavy for fewer than 4 of them to handle, 2 on each side of the spear jammed through it. Yet proud of their ugly load and determined that the Danes seated in Heorot should see it. And soon 14 Geats arrived at the hall, bold and warlike, and with Beowulf their lord and leader. They walked on the mead hall green. Then the Geat's brave prince entered Heorot, covered with glory from the battle, for the daring battles he had fought. He sought Hrothgar to salute him and show Grendel's head. He carried that terrible trophy by its hair, brought it straight to where the Danes sat, drinking, the queen among them. It was a weird and wonderful sight, and the warriors stared. I already explained why Grendel's head is the perfect trophy. So that concludes our reading for today. Make sure you've answered the questions using complete sentences, that you have correct capitalization for nouns, proper nouns, and at the beginning of sentences, and that you have in punctuation. And I will see you on Tuesday.